Was that close? Was that a close game? I can't tell if that felt like a close game or not. I mean, Minnesota almost came back and won. But other than that, sort of a strange game for Ohio State here at TCF Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. The Buckeyes a 31-24 win over Minnesota. They outgained Minnesota 6,014 yards to 91. Ari, why wasn't this a blowout? It's like none of us thought it would be close. The scoreboard said it was close. Was it close, and why was it so close?
It wasn't a TG.
Can we say it? Let's say it now. Now that it's over, we can say it.
It wasn't a trap game. I don't think that the reason why the score was close was because Ohio State came into Minneapolis and didn't respect their opponent, which is what we were getting at when we talked about that it wouldn't be. I think if you looked at the way that the game was played and you see the way Ohio State racked up yardage, I mean, they were in control of the game the entire time. I think people in the post-game interview all said that if it wasn't for some costly turnovers, the game would have been completely different. So I do think that it was a close score. I do not think it was a very close game.
That's a good way to say it. Bill, this game at the end, though, Minnesota banged a 50-yard field goal off the upright earlier in the game. If they had made that, they would have had the ball at the end, down one score. It would have been a different game. I mean, the way this unfolded at the end, how surprised were you by the way this was going down?
I was surprised that it was as close as it was at the end, but it didn't feel to me as if the game was ever in jeopardy. I mean, maybe the second quarter was tied 14-14, and Ohio State took a lead 17-14 at the half. And really from that point, I never felt like Ohio State was going to give it away. I didn't think they were playing well, and I don't think they played well for the majority of the game, and that they kind of let Minnesota hang around a little bit. But I just don't. I never thought that Minnesota was really good enough to take this game away from Ohio State. Ohio State basically turned the ball over. I think they turned it over 3 times, and Minnesota scored 3 touchdowns on all 3 turnovers. 2 of those turnovers, I think, were inside Ohio State's 40-yard line, 1 inside the 20-yard line. So, I mean, if you're putting the defense in a short field, and I think the 1 touchdown the defense was off for, I think you said 90 seconds. So they put the offense put the defense in some tough situations against a team that can run the ball fairly well. They ran it well today. But I think it was much more of a case of Ohio State letting Minnesota hang around than it was Minnesota sort of going blow for blow with Ohio State.
Odd because it was physical mistakes, like individual physical mistakes. I didn't feel like it was mental. It wasn't emotional. That it was a letdown from Michigan State. But it's the thing with mistakes is, are they going to happen again? Is there a thing that says, oh man, that is a vulnerability, and is fumbling the ball on the 1-yard line something that you have to guard against in the future? I think it's something that can't be ignored clearly, because frankly, if this had gone a different way, if the crazy would have happened, I mean, again, Minnesota got the ball back. Say they recover the onside kick and march down the field and score, and they win in overtime. I mean, it would have been one of the more amazing games you ever would have seen, because they were dominated. I mean, they were clearly dominated most of the game. So I do think it's 2 things happening here. I mean, it's snowing. It is snowing a little bit. It is a little brisk. You are on the road. Minnesota's has 7 wins. You get some credit for coming and winning a game like this, but there's just like that a little bit thing that sticks in your craw a little bit of like, how did it happen this way?
It's the last time Ohio State lost a game like this was 2009 Purdue. And I think if you remember that game, Ohio State as a team collectively looked out of it, like they were sleepwalking. In this game, they dominated. They put up almost 500 yards of total offense. And when you think about going in and fumbling into the end zone, that would have been a touchdown, and the other team scores on the following drive. That's a 14-point swing. Muffing a punt inside your own 10, and then 2 plays later. I mean, you're talking about anywhere between 14 and 28 points, depending on how you look at that. So, like I said before, I think that it was a close score because Minnesota made it close at the end, but Ohio State's mistakes, as you mentioned, like the fumbles and whatnot, were the reason why the score got so close. It was not a collective effort as a team to not be ready for it.
So we all have beards now, huh? Is that right?
This is not a beard. This is. I'm embarrassed. Why'd you bring it?
All right, quick pop quiz on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a terrible win, 10 being an awesome win. What's your grade for Ohio State?
10 is a terrible win?
10's awesome. 1 to 10. Have you ever done a 1 to 10?
Sorry, got confused. I would say then, I don't know. I put it right in the middle of 5. I know that's kind of a cop out, but it was just like they weren't awful. They made a couple of huge mistakes that gave Minnesota points.
5.
6. Doug Lesmerises along with Bill Landis and Ari Wasserman at TCF Bank Stadium. Ohio State hosting Indiana next week, then Michigan at home to end the season. No more road games for the Buckeyes this year, except for the Big Ten title game in Indianapolis. They need one more win to lock that up for sure. If they lose to Indiana and Michigan, they won't be going. So we probably think that we will be covering Ohio State in the Big Ten title game. Thanks for following here at cleveland.com. More stories coming your way the rest of the weekend and, of course, into Monday and through the rest of the year.